If nothing changes in the next 180 days, nothing will change in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, if I gave you 180 days, 6 short months, and told you that your life could look completely different by the end of it, would you believe me? Because here's the truth. Most people never hear. Success doesn't take forever. It takes focus. The next 180 days are not about doing more. They're about doing what matters. And that begins with clarity. Most people are busy, but they're not effective. They're moving fast, just in the wrong direction. Before you take another step into 2026, you must answer one powerful question. What does winning actually look like for me? Not vague hopes, not wishful thinking, clear outcomes. When your destination is clear, your decisions become easy. Clarity eliminates confusion, and confusion is the enemy of momentum. Let me tell you something that changes everything. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. Goals don't create success. Identity does. In the next 180 days, the question isn't, what do I need to do? It's, who do I need to become? Because when you become disciplined, results follow. When you become focused, opportunities appear. When you become consistent, success becomes inevitable. Activity feels productive. Execution produces results. If everything is important, nothing is. The fastest way to lose 180 days is to spread yourself thin. High achievers don't do everything. They do the right things repeatedly. Ask yourself daily, what is the highest value action I can take today? Do that, then do it again tomorrow. Willpower is unreliable. Systems are unstoppable. If your success depends on motivation, you will fail when motivation disappears. But if your success is built into your routine, progress becomes automatic. The next 180 days must be system-driven. When you wake up, what you study, what you execute, what you review, systems turn effort into inevitability. People overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in 6 months. Small actions done daily create massive results, not dramatic changes. Disciplined ones, success compounds quietly until one day everyone calls it overnight. Act like time is limited, because it is, but trust the process, because it works. Urgency gets you started. Patience keeps you going. If you show up every day for the next 180 days, focused, intentional, disciplined, you won't recognize the person you used to be. And that is the real goal. Because when you change who you are, everything you touch changes too. The next 180 days start now. Make them count. Clarity before speed is the difference between movement and progress. Many people believe that acting fast is the key to success, but speed without direction only helps you arrive at the wrong destination faster. In today's world where everyone is busy and constantly in motion, clarity has become rare, and that is exactly why it is powerful. Before you take action, before you set goals, before you commit your time and energy, you must be clear about what you are actually trying to achieve. Clarity gives purpose to effort. Without it, effort is wasted. When clarity is missing, people confuse activity with achievement. They fill their schedules, chase multiple opportunities, and say yes to everything, believing that staying busy will eventually lead to success. But busyness is not the same as effectiveness. Clarity forces you to slow down just enough to think, to decide, and to choose intentionally. It asks hard questions. What does success truly look like for me? What outcomes matter most in the next 6 months? What should I stop doing as much as what should I start doing? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. Without clear answers, speed becomes a distraction, not an advantage. Clarity also simplifies decision-making. When your goals are clearly defined, choices become easier because you have a standard to measure them against. You no longer chase every opportunity. You evaluate opportunities. You stop reacting and start responding. This saves time, energy, and mental bandwidth. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel aligned. Instead of feeling rushed, you feel focused. Clarity removes noise and highlights what truly matters, allowing you to move forward with confidence rather than confusion. Another critical aspect of clarity is alignment between goals and values. Many people move quickly toward goals they never consciously chose, only to feel unfulfilled when they reach them. Clarity ensures that your actions are aligned with who you are and who you want to become. It prevents regret. It ensures that when you accelerate, you are accelerating towards something meaningful, not just something impressive to others. Speed without alignment leads to burnout. Clarity creates sustainability. Clarity also creates discipline. When the vision is clear, discipline feels less like sacrifice and more like commitment. You are willing to say no to distractions because you understand the cost of distraction. You're willing to stay consistent because you know why consistency matters. Clarity turns discipline from a struggle into a strategy. It gives you a reason to show up even on days when motivation is low, because the destination is clear even when the journey feels difficult. Most importantly, clarity builds momentum. Once you know exactly what you are aiming for, action becomes intentional. Each step builds on the last. Progress becomes measurable. Confidence grows because you can see movement in the right direction. Speed then becomes powerful, not reckless, not reactive, but controlled and purposeful. When clarity comes first, speed becomes a multiplier rather than a risk. In the next 180 days, clarity must come before acceleration. Taking time to define goals, priorities, and direction is not a delay, it is an investment. It is the foundation that ensures ever. Action taken afterward produces results. When you are clear, you don't just move faster, you move smarter. And smart speed is what turns 6 months into a turning point rather than just another period of time that quietly slips away. Results are not created by goals alone, they are created by identity. Most people focus on what they want to achieve, but very few stop to consider who they need to become in order to achieve it. This is where real transformation begins. Your identity, how you see yourself, what you believe about your capabilities, and the standards you accept for your life quietly dictates your behavior every single day. And behavior repeated over time produces results. That is why lasting success is always an inside-out process. Every action you take is an expression of who you believe you are. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will act inconsistently. If you see yourself as disciplined, disciplined actions will feel natural to you. People struggle not because they lack information, but because their identity is misaligned with their goals. They attempt to force behaviors that do not match how they see themselves. This creates resistance, frustration, and eventually failure. When identity changes, effort decreases and results increase. Identity also determines the standards you live by. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your standards. Standards are not what you say you want. They are what you tolerate. A person who identifies as a high performer does not negotiate with excuses. A person who identifies as a leader does not wait to be told what to do. These are not techniques, they are expressions of self-image. Once a standard becomes part of your identity, it no longer feels like discipline, it feels like self-respect. Another powerful aspect of identity is consistency. Motivation fluctuates. Circumstances change and emotions come and go. Identity remains. When you define yourself clearly, you show up the same way regardless of how you feel. You do the work not because you are inspired, but because that is who you are. This is why identity is more reliable than motivation. It creates stability in action, and stability is what produces momentum over time. Identity also shapes how you respond to challenges. Two people can face the same obstacle and respond completely differently based on how they see themselves. One sees difficulty as a signal to stop. The other sees it as proof of growth. A strong identity reframes failure as feedback and pressure as preparation. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? The question becomes, what is this developing in me? That shift alone changes outcomes. The most effective way to build a new identity is through intentional, repeated action. You do not wait to feel different before acting differently. You act differently until your identity catches up. Each small, aligned action casts a vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, these votes accumulate, and a new self-image is formed. This is why small, daily disciplines are so powerful. They reinforce identity long before they produce visible results. In the next 180 days, the greatest opportunity is not just to achieve more, but to become more. Instead of obsessing over goals alone, focus on building the identity that makes those goals inevitable. Ask yourself who the successful version of you is, how that person thinks, how they act, and what they no longer tolerate. When identity leads, results follow naturally. You stop chasing success and start expressing it. And once success becomes an expression of who you are, it is no longer temporary. It becomes permanent. Being busy has become socially acceptable, even admired, but busyness is not a measure of progress. Many people fill their days with tasks, meetings, messages, and movement, yet feel frustrated because real results remain unchanged. The problem is not effort, it is direction. Focused execution is what separates meaningful progress from constant motion. It is the ability to concentrate energy on what truly moves the needle and eliminate everything else, no matter how urgent it appears. Busy effort feels productive because it creates the illusion of momentum. You're always doing something, responding to something, or preparing for something. But activity without intention leads to exhaustion, not achievement. Focused execution requires a higher level of thinking. It forces you to identify the small number of actions that produce the majority of results and commit to them consistently. This means accepting a hard truth. Not everything deserves your attention, and not every task deserves your time. When execution is focused, priorities become non-negotiable. You stop allowing distractions to dictate your schedule. Instead of reacting to what is loudest or most urgent, you act on what is most valuable. This shift alone can transform productivity. Focused execution creates depth, while busy effort creates fragmentation. Depth produces mastery, and mastery produces results. Fragmentation produces stress and unfinished work. Another key difference between busy effort and focused execution is measurement. Busy people measure their day by how full it was. Focused executors measure their day by what was completed and what impact it created. Completion builds confidence. Impact builds momentum. When you consistently finish important tasks, you begin to trust yourself more. That self-trust fuels greater focus and higher standards, creating a powerful cycle of execution and growth. Focused execution also requires the courage to say no. Saying no is not a LOSS. It is a strategic decision. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something essential. High performers understand that time is a non-renewable resource and attention is even more limited. They protect both aggressively. They design their days around outcomes, not obligations. This is not about doing less. It is about doing what matters most. Discipline plays a critical role in focused execution, but it is not about working harder. It is about working with intention. When your focus is clear, discipline becomes simpler because you are not constantly deciding what to do next. The decision has already been made. You simply execute. This reduces mental fatigue and increases consistency. Over time, consistency compounds into exceptional performance. Focused execution also builds momentum faster than scattered effort. When energy is concentrated, progress becomes visible quickly. Small wins accumulate, reinforcing belief and motivation. Busy effort rarely produces this effect because results are diluted across too many tasks. Focus creates traction, and traction creates speed. Ironically, slowing down to focus allows you to move faster toward meaningful outcomes. Over the next 180 days, the challenge is not to add more to your schedule, but to subtract strategically. Identify the few actions that directly contribute to your goals and give them your best energy. Execute with precision, consistency, and intent. When focus replaces busyness, effort becomes effective. Progress becomes measurable, and success becomes predictable. Willpower is often praised as the key to success, but in reality, it is unreliable. It fluctuates with energy levels, emotions, stress, and circumstances. Relying on willpower alone means your progress is inconsistent because your motivation will never be consistent. Systems, on the other hand, remove the need to constantly decide, resist, or force yourself to act. They create structure, predictability, and momentum, making success less about how you feel and more about how you operate A system is simply a set of repeatable actions designed to produce a specific result. When systems are in place, progress happens almost automatically. You do not wake up every day asking whether you feel like working towards your goals. The system already answers that question for you. This is why high performers focus on designing their environment and routines instead of depending on discipline alone. They understand that the easiest way to win is to make the right actions the default. Willpower fails most often when life becomes demanding. Stress, fatigue, and unexpected challenges drain mental energy, making it harder to stay consistent. Systems protect you during these moments. Even on difficult days, a well-designed system keeps you moving forward, even if the progress is small. Small, consistent progress is far more powerful than occasional bursts of intense effort followed by long periods of inactivity. Another advantage of systems is that they reduce decision fatigue. Every decision requires mental energy. When your day is filled with constant choices, your ability to focus and execute declines. Systems eliminate unnecessary decisions by creating fixed patterns. You know when you work, what you work on, and how you work. This clarity frees mental space for creativity, problem solving, and higher level thinking where real value is created. Systems also make progress measurable. When actions are structured, you can track what is working and what needs adjustment. This turns growth into a process rather than a guess. Instead of relying on hope or motivation, you rely on data and feedback. Over time, small optimizations to your systems produce exponential improvements in results. What starts as a simple routine becomes a powerful engine for growth. Importantly, systems do not eliminate flexibility, they create it. When the foundation is strong, you can adapt without losing momentum. Without systems, any disruption can derail progress completely. With systems, disruptions become temporary obstacles, not permanent setbacks. This resilience is what allows long-term success to be sustained, not just achieved in the next 180 days. The focus should not be on trying harder, but on building smarter. Design systems that support your goals, how you plan your day, how you execute key tasks, how you review progress, and how you recover. When systems replace willpower, consistency becomes natural. Progress becomes predictable, and success becomes sustainable. Daily discipline is rarely dramatic, and that is why it is so often underestimated. People are naturally drawn to big moves, major breakthroughs, and sudden transformations, but lasting success is almost always the result of small actions performed consistently over time. Discipline practiced daily may seem insignificant in the moment, but its true power lies in its ability to compound. What feels minor today becomes meaningful over weeks, transformative over months, and extraordinary over years. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They start strong, then slow down, then stop altogether. Daily discipline removes the emotional decision-making from progress. It turns effort into a habit rather than a struggle. When you commit to showing up every day, even at a modest level, you build reliability within yourself. That self-trust becomes a powerful internal asset. You begin to believe in your own follow-through, and that belief fuels further discipline. Discipline also sharpens focus. When actions are repeated daily, clarity increases. You become more aware of what works and what doesn't. Small adjustments can be made quickly, preventing long-term mistakes. This feedback loop accelerates growth while minimizing wasted effort. Without daily discipline, progress becomes sporadic and learning becomes slow. With it, improvement is continuous and intentional. Another overlooked benefit of daily discipline is resilience. Life will inevitably disrupt routines, challenge plans, and test commitment. Discipline does not eliminate these challenges, but it equips you to handle them. When showing up becomes part of who you are, setbacks lose their power to derail you completely. Missing one day does not lead to quitting, because the habit is stronger than the interruption. Discipline creates durability. Daily discipline also compounds in confidence. Each completed action, no matter how small, reinforces the identity of a person who keeps commitments. Over time, this self-image becomes unshakable. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting for motivation. You act because it is who you are. Confidence built this way is not based on external validation. It is rooted in repeated proof of capability. The compounding effect of discipline is subtle but relentless. Progress that seems invisible in the early stages suddenly becomes obvious. Skills sharpen, results improve, and momentum builds. What once required effort begins to feel natural. This is when most people say, "It looks easy now," without realizing the months of disciplined repetition that made it so. Over the next 180 days, the most powerful strategy is not intensity, but consistency. Small, disciplined actions performed daily will outperform occasional bursts of effort every time. When discipline compounds, it creates momentum that carries you forward even on difficult days. Success stops feeling like a distant goal and starts becoming an inevitable outcome of how you live and work every day. Urgency and patience may seem like opposites, but together they form one of the most powerful mindsets for long-term success. Urgency creates action. Patience creates endurance. When urgency exists without patience, people rush, burn out, and quit. When patience exists without urgency, people delay, procrastinate, and miss opportunities. The balance between the two is what allows progress to be both fast and sustainable. Urgency is the recognition that time is limited and moments matter. It is the understanding that waiting for perfect conditions is often just another form of avoidance. Urgency pushes you to act now, to make decisions, to take responsibility, and to move forward without hesitation. It eliminates complacency and replaces it with intentional action. When you operate with urgency, you respect time as a valuable asset rather than something to be spent casually. Patience, however, protects urgency from becoming reckless. It reminds you that meaningful results require time to mature. Growth, skill development, trust, and mastery do not happen overnight. Patience allows you to stay committed even when progress feels slow or invisible. It prevents frustration from turning into abandonment. Patience teaches you to trust the process without losing momentum. Together, urgency and patience create a powerful rhythm. You move quickly on what you can control, your act, ions, habits, and decisions, while remaining calm about what requires time, results, recognition, and external outcomes. This mindset keeps you from overreacting to short-term setbacks or temporary plateaus. You stay engaged, focused, and steady, even when immediate rewards are not visible. Urgency with patience also changes how you respond to challenges. Instead of panicking or hesitating, you take decisive action and then allow space for learning and adjustment. Mistakes become part of progress rather than signs of failure. You correct course without losing confidence. This approach builds emotional control, which is essential for consistent performance under pressure. Another benefit of this balance is perspective. Urgency keeps you grounded in the present, ensuring that today's actions align with your goals. Patience keeps you focused on the long term, preventing you from sacrificing future success for short-term comfort or validation. You avoid extremes. You do not rush decisions that require wisdom, and you do not delay actions that require courage. In the next 180 days, urgency means showing up every day with intention, focus, and commitment. Patience means trusting that those daily actions are adding up, even when results are not immediate. When you combine urgency with patience, you create a mindset that is resilient, disciplined, and unstoppable. You move forward decisively, stay consistent under pressure, and allow success to unfold at the pace it requires, without losing the drive to act today as we look ahead to 2026. Remember this, the next 180 days are not just a period of time, they are a window of opportunity. What you do with this window will determine whether the year ahead feels familiar or transformational. Success will not come from random effort, waiting for motivation, or hoping circumstances change. It will come from intentional choices made daily, guided by clarity, strengthened by identity, and executed with focus. When clarity leads, action becomes purposeful. When identity is aligned, results become natural. When focus replaces busyness, effort turns into impact. When systems replace willpower, consistency becomes reliable. When discipline is practiced daily, progress compounds. And when urgency is balanced with patience, growth becomes sustainable. These are not ideas to admire, they are principles to apply. The power of the next 180 days lies in commitment. Commitment to think before you rush. Commitment to become before you achieve. Commitment to execute what matters, not what is convenient. You show up with intention and consistency. The results will follow, not by chance, but by design. 6 months from now, you will be somewhere. The only question is whether that place will be the result of deliberate action or familiar habits. Choose to make these 180 days count. Start now, stay focused, and let this period become the turning point that defines your success in 2026 and beyond.